Hello everyone, Bill Parish here from GTT Audio, and welcome to the channel today. Well, today we're back in Montreal, Canada with Kronos Audio, and we have Dr. David Robinson, Editor-in-Chief of Positive Feedback, here with us. Welcome, David.
Good to be here. My first trip to Montreal, and it's fantastic.
Your first trip to Montreal, you toured Kronos offices, the assembly area, you toured the machine shop.
Right, so the CNC.
Yeah, all the CNC machines, and
right.
Here we are at Louie's house in Sound Lab. And this visit today is all about Kronos and your introduction, your first shot to the new Discovery RS tone arm.
Oh yeah. Well, that was a necessary follow-up to our talk back in last September.
That's right. You were at GTT last September.
We caught the basic Discovery platform minus the tone arm. But now that Louie's come out with the Discovery tone arm as well, I just felt compelled to come out, and you were kind enough to get me here so that I could put it all together in one place. And it's remarkable. It really is. There is, I guess I could cut to the chase by saying this is the best I've heard in turntables, and not by a little bit, by a lot. It confirmed everything that the Discovery platform delivered before, but the Discovery tone arm completes the picture with such authority and so conclusively that there's nothing more to be said. I listened, I've been listening, and every virtue of the platform has been multiplied by a noticeable factor to deliver what's on LPs in a way that I've never heard before. And I've heard a lot of turntables, and I've listened to a lot of systems. There's nothing like this, and it's not like it takes courage or anything to say, well, that's simply the best that I have heard. There is nothing out there that touches the experience of what I'm having. Just as soon as the stylus hits the groove, everything changes. It's like everything that we assume equals LP sound goes away. That's what's amazing to me. It's a transformation. I mean, what's your picture on it, Bill?
Well, it's the same, and I like how you're using the term Discovery platform, because the Discovery, what Louie's figured out on how to address vibrations and sound transfer, is something that many have thought about in the past, but no one's ever figured it out until Louie, in my opinion. But we heard the Discovery, and we really, went nuts over it. I mean, and all the guys that we sold them to in the U.S. Really just, were bowled over by the performance. I mean, it's their most cherished component. They love it. And it was perfect. And then Louie came out with the Discovery RS tone arm and a Chronoscope RS tone arm, but we're talking about the Discovery. And what he's done there, it doesn't take away from anything that we said last September.
No.
This is more of the same. This is just another step. Some guys are saying, well, the tone arm was a bigger leap than going from Pro to Discovery. And it's because it's the last piece that's in there. It's the Discovery that allows them to hear it. I know what they're saying, because this is massive.
Yeah. Well,
it was massive before, too, though.
Doesn't Joe Cabala say the same thing about the KS cables?
The first and the last.
He says you'll hear the most at the beginning, and then when you put the last piece at the end.
That's right.
And what Louie has done is, with the Discovery RS, he has put in place something that opens a door that I didn't even know existed, and takes you into an experience that I didn't know could happen. And that, to me, is the most transformational thing about it. It's not about arguing about turntables or my dog's better than your dog. It's about that ultimate experience of the music and finding out that, we didn't really know what we had in those grooves until we had a system that could remove the grooves.
We were listening to that Carmen Suite on Melodia from the Bolshoi Orchestra.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really an audiophile pressing. I mean,
No.
Melodia is never known to be audiophile pressings. So dynamic, so transparent, so engaging, three-dimensional. I mean, it's.
And so Louis cost me more money.
Yeah, I mean,
I had to run out immediately and buy my own copy of this.
you hear
I love
that-
Carmen. I love Carmen.
You hear that? So yeah, everyone loves Carmen. Carmen's
That's
great.
right.
And there is no Carmen in this. It's all orchestral.
It's the ballet suite.
It's
Yeah,
the ballet suite. Yeah.
Right, but
But I mean, it's nothing but goosebumps.
Yeah.
It's goosebumps.
absolutely fantastic. And I refer to it as a system because it really is.
Yeah.
It's not just the turntable, it's the power supply, it's the phono amp, it's the isolation system, the rack that goes with it. It's everything comes together, the counter-rotational system of transport, the way that he is working with materials, and I mean to the nth degree, working on resonance taming, nulling out things that are going to distract from the pure signal getting through. And when the tone arm went into place, it's like the whole thing lit up.
Yeah.
It went from being awesome to being, I don't even know how to describe this. And that is not hype. Part of the problem with audiophile journalism these days is that there's too bloody much hype.
Yep.
The best of the month every month. Product of the year every month. Best of the show. And part of me says, oh yeah, did you go to every room, listen to everything? Don't think so. When you keep pushing things to extremes, when you're always using extreme language to describe what I've quite often found to be relatively small differences,
Yeah.
or just a different flavor on the same hot dog, I react against that because I think that you are actually stripping language of meaning, and you contribute to, as we were talking about just a few minutes ago, you contribute to a global cynicism
Yep.
about the reporting of fine audio. When every little thing is the greatest thing since whenever. When, in some cases, frankly, just a shift sideways is viewed as the great leap forward. That bothers me. As a journalist, it bothers me because I think what you're doing is you're slowly sucking the truth and the meaning out of things.
Yeah, if everybody hears the same terms about every component, eventually they don't mean anything. And we're not sitting here hyping this.
No,
We're not sitting here drooling out of our minds and over something that's not real.
The far end of that sort of thing is what we're seeing on the net now.
Yeah.
Megatons of clickbaiting. You get this title, and I'm so sick and tired of the word shocking. It's always used everywhere. Shocking. This is shocking. This political thing is shocking. This social movement. The guy hit his girl. All those shocking stories. No, it's not all shocking. Some of it's sad. Some of it's tragic. Some of it's pathetic. But you're using heavily loaded terminology to get people to go in and look. And so what you do is you destroy any continuum of value and quality. You're robbing the vocabulary of more nuanced terms that can begin to approach, let me qualify that for you. And in many cases, I work, and it's work. Wordsmithing is hard. You work to find the right words that are proportionate to what you're experiencing, to what that experience represents, and how you think it might fit into the audio pantheon. Okay. As I told you earlier, these are scouting reports to people who many times don't have the opportunity or the access. We mustn't rob language of its power, its virtue, and its meaning by overusing certain heavily charged words all the time. That produces jadedness, jades the senses, and eventually it hardens the senses, and eventually people just become cynical. You're all on payoff. This is all corrupt. Everything is over the top. Everything's the best ever. And everything isn't the best ever. It's very rare that I say what I said in September, and I'm repeating with emphasis now, with the Discovery RS tone arm in the picture. This is the best I've ever heard. We've been publishing in Positive Feedback for 32 years. This is the best I ever heard. It's in, as I wrote last September, it's in its own category. It's sui generis. The Discovery system occupies a category of one. And there isn't anything else in that category. I don't put numbers on it. I don't put grades on it or anything else like that. I try to stick to using words to describe.
All right, we're back after a little pause for noise pollution. Neighbor with his saw.
I'm convinced he's watching us. Yeah, we were talking about the meaning of language and evaluating the movement into a completely different level of performance. Occasionally, when I've referred to the fact that some new component achieves some new level, and people will talk about veils or whatever they want to say, I'll occasionally have a reader who says, how many veils are there?
Yeah.
And I tell them, I don't know. I don't know until I go through the next one. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And the only way to determine what's possible is by engaging in the voyage. You've got to do your audio journey. And as an advanced scout, which is really what I am, I just go out there and check and see what's out there, and then I'll come back and report, hey, this is what I'm seeing out there. This is good, this is not so good, this is dangerous, but this is the way. And that's what I'm saying right now about Discovery. If you want the ultimate experience of the possibilities of the audio arts in vinyl, this is it. I don't know anything else that does what this is doing. And you can take that to the bank. I'm not going to hype it. I'm just saying flatly that's true. Based on my experience, which is fairly broad, there isn't anything like this. And so if that's the kind of thing that you're looking for, then you have to look at this.
Well, and you're a turntable guy. You have 3 tables in your room right now.
3 turntables in there right now.
You've got master tape machines in there. You got a Studer and an MCI, and I know you know analog, and you've been in analog. This isn't like your first rodeo, and this is the best I've heard because it's the only thing I've heard. It's been something that you've been doing your whole life.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so from my standpoint, this is an easy call. What you have going on here is it's so different. It's so far through. It's so far up that it leaves other things behind. That's probably not going to be popular news in some quarters. But you see, I can qualify it from the standpoint of, okay, at this price point, let's say, as an audio file. You've got alternatives that are like this. At that price point, here's some others. But if you're going all out and you're all in, this is it. This is it. You don't have to call me, you don't have to write me a letter, you don't have to leave a comment. I just told you what it is if you want all in. This is it. I'm not being paid to tell you that. I'm not corrupt. There is no quid pro quo going on. I'm just telling you the truth as I've experienced it, and I've invested decades in developing that experience. And this is something you can take to the bank. The only way that you could argue what I have to say is if you've never experienced what I've experienced.
Yeah.
Then you can argue all day long. Well, it can't possibly be as good as fill in the blank. And my reaction is going to be, come back to me when you've spent some time with it, then we'll talk. But you won't be saying that once you've had that experience with it. It's just, please, I mean, and enough dogfighting already. I just celebrate the fact that Louis has, in the last 2 or 3 years, has done the necessary, really hard work with meticulous attention to detail. And I've gotten to be in the lab, and I've gotten to be in the CNC plant, and I've seen what goes into it. I'll be writing a photo essay for the magazine where you'll get to see photographs that I made. So you can see the kind of attention to detail that's here, and it's paid off. It's been a passionate, artistic, single-minded pursuit on Louis' part to achieve this. And the result is not something you can just roll up in a DIY shop or spin your own or just tweak another turntable. This is so far beyond that as to be amazing. If I had the budget and wanted to go from 3 to 1 turntable, my listening room, this is it. This would be it. Period. End of story. So that's the strongest recommendation I can give it, and I can assure you there's zero hype in that. There's no clickbait here. I'm very calmly telling you what you need to do. And don't come back to me and argue the point until you have heard the Discovery platform. If you don't think it's the best thing that you've heard, then I have to question your hearing. Because I can tell you, it is sine qua non. It is sui generis, as the Romans would have said. This is it. There's nothing higher than this. Ne plus ultra. There's nothing better than this. This is the reference. The reference. And I say that with a great deal of affection for other turntables that I own.
Yeah.
Other turntables I reviewed. It's not like they drop off the end of the world. The 3 turntables I have in my listening room right now are all wonderful turntables. There are different price points and so on and so forth.
And talking about this doesn't make those any worse.
No, of course not.
I mean,
of course not.
Their performance hasn't gone one way or the other just because you're talking about it. And some guys think like a new product comes out and
everything's obsolete.
Everything's obsolete,
Yeah.
or their decision was wrong, or what they have now is no good because Dr. David said this was better. So
Yeah.
I don't have it. It doesn't mean any of that.
No.
All it means is that there's a new reference. There's a new product that's, well, quite frankly, groundbreaking, and I agree with you. People should make sure that they get out and hear it,
Right.
and experience it. I mean, if you're looking for the best turntable out there,
Yeah.
they need to hear it.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I'll echo what Bill says in terms of you really, if that's what's driving your life as an audiophile, you really need to get a life. Okay, this obsessive consumerism and upgrading 2 and 3 times a year, buying something selling it and buying something else, that's not a life. That's not joy and delight and passion for the audio arts. That's obsessive consumerism. Lose it, please. Learn how to be content, and if you're going to continue your audio journey and you want to go further, that's fine. Do so in a lucid way, please. Don't obsess about it. Do your research, do your homework, extend your experience, educate your senses so that they become sensibilities. Everybody's got ears, but relatively few people have sensibilities, which are educated senses, trained senses, senses that know the difference between good and evil. Okay? If you do that, then you're going to find yourself being able to relax and enjoy it. All that I'm saying right now is that after decades and decades with turntables and in high-end audio, this is it. This is it. I'm telling you calmly yet again. I was saying it last September, and I'm telling you again right now that with that Discovery RS tone arm in place, it seals up the sum. I cannot even think of an audio virtue that could be added to this. I can't think of it.
Well, I can say that in the U.S., we sold half of the Discovery turntables that have been made thus far. And with those turntables, every client bought a chronoscope, because that's what we had at that time.
Right.
And every single one of those has upgraded to a Discovery RS.
Well,
so we have believers in the U.S.
Of course.
Right, Louie's laughing because it's just, yeah.
Well,
I do my job, and I just...
The upgrade to the Discovery RS.
The thing about this, go ahead.
It's just a no-brainer.
And the Discovery tables, I mean, you heard it at the Kronos headquarters the other day when you asked the time frame to build.
Yeah,
it's a year.
Oh, yeah.
Now that's not one table. You order a table, you're going to wait a year. No, they're in production. We're going to be ready to ship again relatively soon. There's still some supply issues but Louis a year ago started working on another batch, and then he'll be working on another batch as soon as this gets concluded. So they're always in the works, but to build these masterpieces takes an entire year.
Yep. Well, in the meticulous detail that, again, in the positive feedback article, you'll get to see some close-ups of some of the product parts.
I can't wait till the photo essay when you show that massive power supply.
Oh, yeah.
These transformers that drive a motor that's 3/4 of a watt.
Yeah.
I mean, overkill, but I don't think you would have did it if you couldn't hear it.
Right.
Well, to clarify a little bit what's being said about the production is we produce 25 units at a time. And right now the production cycle is 12 months.
Yeah.
So it turns out to be one every 2 weeks, but I mean from the moment that we decide, okay, we're doing 25 units, what I'm saying is that from the moment we decide to produce 25 units till the moment we can ship the first one, there's about a 12-month delay, production cycle, I should say. So it's a very long process. And what Bill was mentioning before is on the first batch of 25 discoveries, 21s were for sale, 4 were kept by us for shows or whatever, and there were I think 11 sold and installed in the U.S., which is amazing. Now we have orders throughout the world, and everybody is kind of waiting right now. And on the tone arms, it's also the same thing. We probably have delivered about 25 to 30 tone arms so far, but we still have like about 30 to produce.
Well,
and on this
list, yeah.
but on this the cycle is much shorter because we make a lot of the things in-house.
Yeah.
and so a lot of parts are ordered and we have them in stock, and it's not as complex as the Discovery, but it's a lot of parts, but we can assemble as we go, and we're going to be shipping more and more, and there's a lot of people out there waiting. But again, I mean, if I may, what I would say is that I truly feel that the most cost-efficient upgrade you can do to your system if you own a Kronos turntable is a Chronoscope RS or a Discovery RS. I mean, the improvement in sound is really transmitted to the whole system, and it's you know, that old saying, garbage in, garbage out. No garbage in, no garbage out is a big deal.
Yeah.
And this is what we work towards, is to have as low a noise floor and as little vibrational interference or after image or added harmonics that don't exist to the sound. And when it gets to be this clean, it's not only resolute, but it's actually much more musical.
Yeah, well, like you know, and it's not just for Discovery, as you're saying, for any Kronos turntable. As you said, 11 Discoveries installed in the U.S., but since the tone arms were announced, we're waiting on 28 tone arms in the U.S.
Right.
11 went to Kronos Discovery guys, but we still have 16 others
That's right.
that we're waiting on, and people are putting them on Spartas. We even have a Discovery RS going on as the Sparta. We've got Chronoscope RSs going on Spartas. We've got Discovery RSs going on Pros. We got Chronoscope RSs going on Pros. So the Pros and the Sparta guys are upgrading. We're not at 100% upgrades where we want to be, but it is you guys are doing a great job in the U.S., and I'll tell you, it's the performance jump is at least as big as when you got your Kronos table.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that type of performance jump again.
Yeah, having heard the main body system,
Yeah.
and then just coming in to hear just the tone arm added to the system, I would agree. I think it is that kind of a quantum leap. And it's when you're doing that kind of advance, it's not an incremental. If you're writing reviews correctly and maintain a judicious balance and a sense of proportion and perspective, then you can comment on incremental improvements as incremental improvements. You don't have to ballyhoo everything to the heavens. Matter of fact, if you do, again, you are subtracting from the truth, and you're robbing language of its meaning. So if you do it right on the reviewing side, the small incremental changes that come over time, you can recognize them for what they are and appreciate them. And that leaves lots of, I'll use a phrase here. Here's a phrase made up on the fly. It leaves a lot of headroom in your writing. You see, if I use up all the headroom to talk about everything, then all of a sudden we have the same problem that we have in audio with volume wars. Everybody just kept raising the volume to the point at which everything becomes a distortion, and dynamic range is like all of a sudden it's now like
Yeah, exactly.
5 or 10 dBs from quietest to loudest because everything's loud. That's the problem, you see. There's a headroom in language.
Sure.
And you must, just give you an example. One of my favorite examples. If we look at the contemporary use of the word awesome, everything is awesome. Hey, it's my birthday. Oh, awesome.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Hey, look at this. I just finished my task. Awesome. Mom, look at what I drew. Oh, that's awesome. No, it's not. I tell you, from my standpoint, God is awesome. Everything else is somewhere down the spectrum, and in a lot of cases, way down the spectrum. Oh, Johnny, that's a drawing. Yeah, that doesn't suck too bad. It's probably a little bit closer to the truth than, wow, Johnny, that's awesome. We need to quit robbing words of meaning. And as an editor and as a writer, I feel very strongly about this because that will corrupt the language, which in turn, it follows a template, it follows a formula, it has a format, and that's it. Gee, of all the things I ever heard, this is certainly one of them. Well, that doesn't help anybody. And so if we can avoid that, if we can, let's create more headroom. How do you do that? By lowering all of the hype, by eliminating that and developing, if you don't already have it, developing a judiciousness that's wise enough to avoid hyping anything.
All right. So if I may interject there, I mean, your point I think is very, of course, valid, but I think it also answers some comments we've had from other reviewers concerning the launch of the Discovery turntable, where it was said that how dare you use such hysterical language to say this is the best, and how can anybody say this, and so on and so forth. But I think you've addressed this very well. There's I mean, in all things meaningful, you can't always say everything is unbelievable, but you also have the courage, you also need the courage to be able to say this is unbelievable when it is unbelievable.
Exactly. And the fact that everything's unbelievable means that nothing is unbelievable. And the only thing that's truly unbelievable is your commentary, your review. That's what it does to the language.
Yeah.
No, it's in the 32 years that I've been writing and editing positive feedback, I've used this concept of this is the best 3 times that I can think of just right offhand in 32 years. And one time that I did it, it so pissed off another manufacturer that he gave me quite a scolding over the phone and hung up on me. Which was too bad, but I stood by what I said. What had superseded his previous 6 years of domination, it was definitely better. Definitely. Not just slightly, but definitely. And I try in my reviewing not to, I don't write a review about this by talking about 20 other things. I want to focus on the thing I'm reviewing.
That's what I appreciate the most.
Well, it's
on how you rate. It's the way it should be done.
It's just write about the thing itself. Okay. And then it's extremely rare for me to say what I'm saying here. And that is not to offend every other turntable manufacturer on the planet. Instead, it's to say, you know, I can praise, I've got a handful of turntables. I can praise each one of them because each one has a particular set of virtues and capabilities at its price point. And so they're fine. There's nothing wrong with these turntables. They're going to do a great job for you. But I'm compelled. Honesty, the search for truth, compels me to say, this is so extraordinary. This is so far out of any incremental change that I have to say, look at this. I'll save you a lot of time. If this is in your budget range, and it's certainly not going to be for an awful lot of people, but if you can handle this in your budget and you're looking for the best, where you're not going to have to be searching around through the weeds or obsessively turn over a turntable once every year or two, this is it. This is it. I could put, if I had a Discovery in my listening room, that would be it. That's all That's answered the question. I'm done. Now I can just get on with listening to my LPs. See, if I did any LP reviews after that, turntable reviews, it would be strictly to speak about this and this particular set of virtues here. But it would always be some subset, you see, of the true reference standard for me. That's it. I don't own stock in Louis' company.
No, no, you don't.
I do not own any stock in Bill's company. I don't. I'm just here speaking as an experienced audiophile who's done a lot of writing and reviewing, and I'm saying, for what it's worth, whether you know me or not, I'm telling you, pay attention to this scouting report. I've been over the mountain. I've seen what's there. And if that's the kind of thing you're looking for, this is it. And I just saved you a whole lot of time.
Well, with that, I think we'll wrap it up.
Because we're running out of time.
Louis, do you have anything to add?
Not only that, it was really nice to see all of you out there that came to Munich. We had a great time, a great presentation, and we hope to see you soon again in our travels that are going to follow. And to thank you, Bill, for coming to Montreal and making this possible. You always have the best content, I think, on YouTube.
Well, thank you.
And goodbye, and thank you for being with us.
Awesome. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks a lot.